When you're at home practicing guitar, are you practicing playing guitar or are you practicing studying guitar? Yeah, there's a difference between these two ways to approach the guitar when you're practicing, and also there are other tips to you to maximize your studies and level up your guitar skills. So stay with me. Today I'll give some tips on how to practice guitar, things that you need to do for you to become a better guitar player. Hey guys, I'm Everton Zaquini, and let's talk about how you properly study guitar. A lot of people ask me about my routine, how I improve on guitar, what I did to get the level that I have, how many hours, how many days, what I study, how I do things. And there are things that you need to do that really will help you to improve your guitar skills. So, for example, a lot of students sometimes they just play the same thing over a long period of time. And it's good, but it's not enough. If you just practice the same thing, you'll master it, but you'll not start to level up. So you need some challenges, new things for you really keep going and improving your skills. So the first thing that is really important is that you have a daily routine. Practice guitar every day. Some people has more time than the others. Sometimes people has 1 hour to practice, other people has 10 minutes. But the important thing here is that you practice every day, or at least 3 to 4 times. Sometimes I know that it's hard to get every day and to have long period that you can study it. So if you just practice every day 5-10 minutes, you'll be much better than if you practice 3-4 hours only once a week. To learn guitar is the same approach when you go to the gym. If you just go once a week, it's not enough. You need to do every day. It's like athletes practicing for their skills. They need this routine every day, just a little bit every day. This is much more efficient than cramped everything in one day. So you need to have this daily routine, and this way you'll be able to practice it and you give time to your brain, create the connections necessary to keep improving your guitar skills and then make everyday things easier. First thing, set a time that you can practice it and you can schedule it. If you do this as a routine, you create this habit and things will become better. The other thing that's really important is to stick with your routine. Even the days that you don't want to play. Yeah, there are days that you don't want to play guitar, but actually these are the moments that you really will improve on guitar. The moments that you don't want to play. Yeah, for me, I love playing guitar, but there are days that it's a little bit hard to get the instrument. So what I will do, even that I don't want to play guitar, I will get the guitar and practice and follow my routine. And one tip here for you to get this habit to play every day, don't keep your guitar in the bag. Always let your guitar out of the bag for you to practice it. If you like to spend more time in a room in your house, or if it's in a living room, bedroom, whatever, the place, always keep your guitar close that you just can reach easily. So keep your guitar out of the bag in an area that you spend more time, and this way you see the guitar and you practice it. If you keep your guitar in the bag, usually you think, oh, it's in the bag. You have all this time that you have to open the bag, get your guitar, tune your guitar. So it's much easier if it's in a easy access. So you just keep close to you, and then this way it's easier to keep the habit and the routine. Now, once you set up the time that you practice, you put in your schedule, play guitar. The next step that you need to do is to understand things that you need to practice. There are 2 things that you need to practice. First, the motor skills. You need to practice scales, technique exercise, arpeggios, and also the creative skills, like improvising. If you like to compose, practice your composition skills, practice some harmonies, styles, also repertoire. And many times you have a crossover between the technical skills and the creative side. So you can, for example, starting practicing your technique skills, and then you will apply all these things also in your creative side. And according with your level, you have different things to practice on those 2 sides. So if you are a very beginner, your creative side is just to get some technique exercise, like this exercise 1, 2, 3, 4. And you need to practice chords. For example, if you are learning just chord progressions to make it easier, so you need to practice the chord change. If you, let's say, you're starting to get the bar chords, so you have like a C and an F chord, you need to work on your motor skills and between the chord change between C and F. Now, if you're an intermediate student, now you have to practice more things. So you have to practice not only the chords, but for example, how you can play the chords in a different place. So for example, here, let's say you know the C major 7 chord. Now, how you spread this chord in fretboard, for example. So I just play. And how you apply this in a chord progression. You first practice your technical skills, get the chord throughout the fretboard, and then you get a chord progression that has the C major chord, and then you start to practice your creative side. And there are other things, so you need to practice some arpeggios, scales, then apply all these things on the creative side. If you're an advanced student, now you can work not only with the scales, but substitution of chords, how apply superimposing triads or pentatonic over the other chords, working the repertoire, change some harmonies, creating some chord melodies. So lots of things to practice. And then how you practice all of these things separately and put them together. So this way you'll always keep improving on the guitar. Now let's talk a little bit more about these things. But before, remember, it's really important that you subscribe to the channel to keep getting these lessons and improving, and also ring the bell to get my latest videos. And if you like, share with your friends, ring the bell, and this way, let's keep improving on the guitar. So the first thing, once you set the time, you need to see if you're practicing 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or 1 hour. Now, it's really important, especially if you are practicing more than half an hour, you understand how is the best approach for you to learn. So here, we're going to talk about the 2 ways of thinking. When you're studying, you need to work with focused mode and on the diffused mode. So the focused mode, you really focus when you're practicing. So the tip here is when you're practicing, just get rid of all your distractions. Close your social medias, keep your smartphone away, just open things that you use to practice and you're really focused. If you're practicing 5-10 minutes, get this moment focused. Generally, people are able to keep 25 minutes of focused mode. So you sit down, practice different things. So if you're practicing 25 minutes and you're beginner, work technique first and then move to the chords and repertoire. Then if you're intermediate, work on your technique, arpeggio, scales, and then you work on your creative. So a little bit of improvising and a little bit of repertoire, and this way you start to balance what you're studying. And then you give some reward to you. So after this really focused time that you had, then it's time for you to relax. Now is the moment that you start to go to a social media, watch a video on YouTube, you get a coffee, you eat something, just distract, don't think what you're doing. And that's it. So if you set a time, for example, for 30 minutes, try to do this focused mode during 30 minutes, and then that's it. Then the other day you come back and practice it. Or just think a little bit about what you're practicing. Now, if you're practicing 1 hour, break into 2 periods. So work 25 minutes, 5 minutes break, come back to practice the last half an hour. Or you can do 25 and 25. It's really important that you break this into focused mode and diffuse mode. So every time that you do the focused mode, after that, give you a little reward, all right? So just get a little bit distracted, think about other things, and this way you start to get the connections that you need to keep improving on your skills. And this is not only for guitar, this is for every new skills that you're learning. Now that you know a little bit about the approach that you need to have to learn better, to maximize the way that you learn something, so then you go to start to break down the topics. If you're working on technique, you start with exercises, for example, on a scale. Exercise like this. A good way to practice this is to set a timer. You put like 5 minutes of technique, and then you have more 10 minutes to work on repertoire, and then more 10 minutes to work on chord melody. All right? So if you are working on technique, so you have this exercise inside of the scale that just gave one example, or if you need to work on arpeggios, for example, you can just practice the major 7th arpeggio. And in a different region. You practice the technique, and then you move to a different motor skill exercise. I like to use this approach. We start with technique for warming up your fingers, then I move to creative side, and then I can do like some improvising. So I can do this with a backing track and a different genres, and if I have something from the technical part that I was practicing that is challenging, I will apply this on the creative side, practicing improvising chord by chord or applying a different scale. So this is my approach. So first technique and then creative side. Now that you know how to approach your studies, if you are self-taught, the hardest thing is sometimes to organize all the material that you need to practice. Sometimes you can get lost. If you don't have a teacher to help you to organize your studies, usually a lot of people, when they are learning on guitar, nowadays it's very common, go to YouTube. On YouTube, you can find amazing channels, some not that good channels, but you can find really good materials from pretty good teachers. But if you start to go from one to another, then you start to get messy. You get lots of information, different levels, you don't know what to practice properly, and you won't spend time. Because one thing that is really important for you to really master something is spend a lot of time on that. So if you're practicing major scale, don't learn only the patterns of the major scale. You need to learn all the patterns, how to apply the patterns, what chords comes from the major scale. By the way, if you want to learn a little bit more about major scale, here are some videos that I teach the patterns and also the chords that you can get from the major scale. But also, there's different approaches for you to play the major scale. The intervals, what the sound that you want to give with using some specific intervals from the scale. You can play the scale in intervals of fourths, in fifths, sixths, apply this creating songs. So there's just major scale, there's a lot of things to learn. So you need to master these things before you move. So if you are self-taught and you get a major scale in 1 week, and then you get the minor scale in another week, and then you move to minor harmonic scale. So you're just scratching the surface. So you're not properly getting all the things that you can extract from that scale. You really need to go deep. And if you're learning from YouTube or internet, when you get one guy you like, there's the teacher that you like, get the videos from that guy and try to avoid to get so many different ones. Then you start to get all the materials like scattered. So you have lots of things. Sometimes the teachers, you'll be talking about the same thing in a different approach, and then you start to get confused. So it's good to have one and stick with them. And once you get lots of material, you start to understand, then start to move to other ones and start to understand the materials of the other ones and study this, go deep inside of every material that you get. For example, I can give a pretty good example by something that I went through. When I was young, that I was learning guitar, usually we didn't have too much access to internet and we didn't have YouTube. So what we would do, we have like video lessons from great guitar players, and also we would have some books. Instead of we get one book and practice it and learn properly the topics, the things that was taught in that book, we would get like 5-10 books and actually just go through it and not learning properly. So it's really important that when you get material, go deep. Don't try to get too many stuff. If you get too many stuff and you don't have this routine to practice it, it's easy to get frustrated and get stuck. Sometimes some people will even give up guitar. So it's really important that you have the resilience to keep practicing and organize your studies to get the most of it and always be improving on guitar. Relating with all this stuff that I was talking about is the long-term learning. You need to set a goal for a long term. It's not 1 week, 2 weeks that you're going to learn guitar. You can learn some things in 1 or 2 weeks, but if you really want to master the instrument, you need sometimes a lot of years. If you take a look at the greatest musicians, you see that they are playing for a long time, and sometimes before they start to play professionally, they were like a long time before it learning music. So if you follow the steps, you'll be able to become a great guitar player and a great musician. I hope you enjoy these tips and use it for you when you're practicing guitar, and this way you see lots of great benefits when you're learning, and apply these tips not only for guitar. Every new skill that you want to learn, you can use this approach as well. And let me know, put in the comments, what are your approach when you're studying? Are you using already this kind of approach to learn guitar? Or you use a different one? What results are you getting from this different way that you are practicing guitar? Are you starting to apply this method? So let me know, put in the comments, and we can chat a little bit as well. And if you're serious about guitar and you want to practice with a method that is sequenced and you want to get the most of it, you can get my help. Just hit me in my email, evertonguitarplayer@gmail.com, and you can just chat a little bit and I can help you to become a better guitar player and a better musician. Thanks for watching. See you next time.